Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sally and this is Secret Life of a Seamstress, my channel where I talk all about sewing and making clothes. Today's video is going to be another sewing video and I'm going to be trying my best to recreate another look from the high street. So I've been eyeing up a lovely dress that I've seen on And Other Stories. It's a really simple wrap style dress. There are loads of these kind of dresses around on the high street at the moment. And this is actually one of the dresses that I found and included in my recent Sew the Trends video. If you haven't seen that, then I'll link that down below. It is a very simple linen wrap dress. It's quite short. With a crossover wrap at the front, it ties at the waist and it has some simple short sleeves. But I just thought this was really lovely. I just thought it was really nice and simple and lovely kind of casual style to wear in the summertime, and I thought it would be great for a holiday as well. So I did consider buying another pattern that I could use. I do already have a lovely wrap dress pattern that I've used loads of times in the past, and instead of going out straight away and rushing to buy another pattern, I thought I would have a little experiment to see if I could adapt the pattern that I already have to make it more in line with this kind of boxy style dress that I found and really like. So the pattern that I'm going to be using is the Sew Over It Eve dress. I absolutely love this pattern. I've used it many times. It's just a lovely nod to vintage style wrap dress. It has some shoulder yokes. You can make it with a straight sleeve and a straight hem, or you can make it with a sort of fluted flutter sleeve, and you can make it with a lovely floaty dipped hem as well. So this kind of style is slightly different obviously from the boxy style wrap dress that I've just shown, so I will need to make a couple of changes to this pattern to see if I can bring it more in line with that kind of style. It's a little bit of an experiment. I'm not quite sure if I know what I'm doing or not, but nonetheless I'm going to give it a go. So I do already have everything cut out, and I'll just explain to you how I have adapted some of the pattern pieces, which will hopefully change the dress slightly to be more sort of boxy and more simple in style. So before I get into sharing with you the changes that I made to the pattern, I'll just quickly share with you what I'm wearing, because I do tend to forget to do that sometimes. Today I'm wearing a Megan Nielsen Sudley top. It's slightly hacked to have a peplum on the bottom. This is one of my absolute favourite makes actually, and I love the fabric that I've used for this. This is a beautiful Art Gallery rayon fabric. It's funny because on the bottom half I'm actually wearing a pair of legging type jogging bottoms at the moment. And the reason for that is because I got absolutely soaked on the school run this morning. I was wearing a nice pair of cropped jeans. We've had some really hot weather here in the UK, but it's been brewing rain over the last couple of days, and last night it started to rain a little bit, and this morning we woke up to rain, and the rain was so heavy on the school run this morning. I think it took only 2 or 3 minutes, but just in that time I was so drenched. By the time I got home I had my big winter coat on and that was sodden, and my jeans were soaked, and my trainers and my socks and everything. So I've just taken them off and hung them over the banister upstairs to dry, and hopefully I'll put those back on later. But at the moment I'm just wearing a pair of like stretchy leggings while they dry out. In terms of changes that I needed to make to this pattern, it was a little bit of a head scratcher to me, and I spent a little while thinking about how I was going to do this. So this is the Eve dress front pattern, so this is how it sits on you. Obviously wraps over like this, but the Eve dress itself does have this shoulder yoke piece here, and what you would normally do on the Eve dress is have these two pieces separate. So you've got the yoke and the bodice piece. The front bodice piece is that little bit wider, and then you would gather the front bodice piece in to fit into the yoke. So because I want my dress to be flat with no yoke, I needed to think about how I was going to take the yoke out of the dress front. So I really do sometimes like a challenge like this, and I just want to say that the hacks that I do on here, they are my own sort of personal hacks. They're not technically perfect, and it's probably not the way that someone would do it if they were properly pattern drafting or anything like that. I've kind of mashed everything together here, and I'm just going to see if it works. So please don't think I'm ever giving you any professional advice on here. I'm really just experimenting and seeing what works. Anyway, I did think for quite a while about how I was going to sort of merge these two pieces into one, and in the end I just ended up placing the yoke on top of the shoulder piece, and then using my Pattern Master ruler to just grade from the top of the yoke down in line with the sort of curve of the wrap front. And all I've done is actually just fold that behind, and I'm hoping that's going to work and give me a more sort of flat boxy style front wrap. Other changes that I made were really simple ones, so I just shortened the sleeve. So the Eve dress does come with 2 sleeve pieces. You can either do the flutter sleeve or you can do the longer 3/4 length sleeves. And so I've just taken the 3/4 length sleeve piece and I've just shortened it to make a short sleeve. And then with my skirt pattern pieces, I've actually taken 5 inches off of the length of the shorter skirt. So Over It patterns always do come up quite long on me anyway. I always do need to shorten them slightly. So I knew that this was going to be quite a whopping reduction in length I'd need to do to make it quite mini, similar to the picture. Yeah, that's everything I've done. Fingers crossed this is going to work. I do feel a little bit nervous about this one, I have to say, mainly because I have cut straight into my lovely Atelier Brunette double gauze fabric that I've had in my stash for ages. These are my scraps obviously, but this is the lovely double gauze that I've used. I just thought it would suit that style of wrap dress really nicely, and I did and ah as to whether or not I should cut straight into this or not. And in the end I just decided life's too short, I needed to just cut straight into it and hope for the best. Now and again I do have some brave moments like that, so fingers crossed that it will work and I won't have wasted this beautiful fabric that sat in my stash for so long because I love it so much and didn't quite know what to do with it. So I think that's all of the information I needed to give you with regard to the changes that I've made to the pattern. So I'm going to get set up to start sewing now, and I'll catch up with you along the way as I always do. I did have to change my camera battery and just caught sight of my rain swept hair. So I didn't even bother to do my hair or anything this morning because, as I say, it was chucking it down. I'm in and out a bit today and I just thought, what's the point? And then didn't even think to look at it before I came on here to film. So I'm sorry if I do look a little bit bedraggled in my jogging bottom and blouse look with my rainy hair. Anyway, I'm going to get on and start sewing now. So after a brief period of my overlocker protesting at me because it was absolutely filthy and needed to be defluffed, and I needed to rethread it with some similar overlocking threading to the colour of my fabric, I was ready to get going. So first of all, with the Eve dress, there is a lot of overlocking to do because all of your seams are pressed open. So I need to overlock all of the waist pieces and the side pieces of my skirt first of all. Is sewn together now, so I do quite like it actually when you have to overlock first because it feels a bit as though things come together quicker, doesn't it? So with the Eve, because of the wrap tie, you have to leave a gap in one of your side seams here, and then when you attach the bodice to that, you'll leave a little gap in the side seam which you'll then thread your wrap tie through. So it always confuses me when I need to remember which side to put the tie through. It has to be on the right side. I'm so bad at working things like that out. My mind just doesn't really work in that way. So I always get really confused when you're sewing something backwards, you know, when you're sewing it inside out, you've got to remember which is the right side. For some reason that really confuses my brain, but I think I've done it right. Anyway, so next I'm on to the bodice. This fabric, by the way, is really lovely, very see-through. So I'm very glad that I didn't go with my original plan to make a jumpsuit out of it, because that could have been very revealing. If I hold it up to the light, can you see that it's quite sheer? So definitely one to wear a slip or something underneath. So that's where I am. I'm going to carry on, just put my hair up actually because it's a mess, and also because it's so stuffy. Even though it's rained, it's still really warm and I just feel so hot and stuffy. So I thought I would do that, and I've also got the window open as well to try and get some airflow. Right, so I'm at stay tape time. So I've had a look in my box to see what I had. And the only stay tape I had was this black one. So this is my lesson really, to always make sure that I have my notions to hand. Because black obviously doesn't match this fabric terribly well, but I don't think anything would really, unless I could find some kind of mustard colour. And I've just done a little test and I don't think it will show through to the right side. So what you need to do is, in the Eve pattern, it does give you the right length to cut for your size of dress that you're making, and then it also gives you markings for where you're supposed to place your stay tape, and then you need to pin it to the bodice front and then sew it in place. And what the stay tape does is just make sure that that sort of slash wrap here that's really cut on the bias doesn't stretch out of place. So this is always the trickiest bit of the Eve dress. Often your bodice has stretched out a little bit, so you do need to do quite a lot of easing to get it into the stay tape measurements. The pattern does actually give you a couple of centimetres extra on the length that you're supposed to cut, in case anything has stretched beyond being able to ease it back in. So there is a little bit of kind of allowance there as well. So I'm going to stand and pin this onto my bodice front now and just hope there's not too much easing to do. The good news is that my side seams matched up okay, and my shoulder seams matched up okay, and those were the pieces of the pattern that I had resized when I was taking out the yoke, so that's good news. And I did just try this on just to make sure that everything looked okay and I hadn't lost too much on the front area or anything. When I say try it on, I mean just literally put it over me. Just make sure that obviously I hadn't lost too much over the front. Obviously the real test will be when I come to attach the bodice to the skirt. Okay, so I got a little bit carried away there then, but I now have a pretty much completed bodice. Obviously this needs a bit of neatening up around here where the stay tape is in, that gets done in a little while, but I've also put in my short sleeves as well. So next I just need to attach the bodice to the skirt, and then I might just do a little try on, just make sure that everything's looking as it should do. And then I just need to put the finishing touches on. So we have a dress and I have just tried this on, and I couldn't really film the trying on because there was no real way to do it without accidentally flashing. So I didn't film the trying on, but yeah, I'm really pleased with how this is looking so far. The wrap seems fine, which is really good, because yeah, that was the bit that I was worried about, just that I hadn't sort of considered the grading and everything that I was trying to do properly, but it looks okay. So all I need to do now, or next I should say, perhaps not all I need to do, is to finish off the inside edges of the dress. So where I've got the stay tape around the bodice and then the straight fronts of the skirt, these are all raw edges at the moment. So the instructions say to overlock right around the edge, and then you turn under, yeah. And then top stitch so that everything is sitting neatly, and then I need to do the ties as well. my dress is pretty much done now. I've put the ties on here. I don't ever make the ties in the way that the pattern tells you to make them, where you sew the end and then you sew across and then you've got to turn it through, because I always find the turning through process is just painful and it takes me forever, and it literally is quite painful. It hurts my fingers. So I always leave the end raw, and then I can just turn it through using a safety pin like I normally do. And then what I'll do is I'll just even that off and then just hand sew the end so that it looks nice and neat. Probably not the neatest way to do it, but I don't think anyone's going to notice, and I'd rather do it that way for speed and ease. So when I tried this on earlier, I realised that the hem had dropped loads already. I do find that with the Eve dress. I've found it every single time I've made it, the hem always drops, because there is a lot of cutting on the bias there, and even though this is a cotton rather than a viscose, it's still dropped. So what I'm going to do is actually leave this to hang. It's paining me inside because all I want to do is just get this finished. But I am going to be good and leave this to hang and see what levelling needs to be done. And I do think I'm going to have to take another couple of inches off of it as well to level up the hem and make it quite mini. So something that I've found in the past, and I've found this just by trial and error really, is that if you are making the Eve dress, do always leave it to hang for those reasons that I've just mentioned. But also, if you are going to be shortening it like me today, make sure you do leave it a bit longer, because often during the levelling process you need to cut quite a lot off. So I made an Eve dress once with a viscose fabric and hemmed it straight away and left it on my dress form for a while, admiring it. And then gradually over the next few days, the hem just literally dropped at the sides. And ever since then, I've been really careful. I didn't really know at that time about hems dropping. I think it was quite early on in my sewing journey. So that was something that I learned. But yeah, definitely always leave it to hang. And I'm surprised it doesn't say that in the Sew Over It instructions actually, because the instructions do tell you to hem it straight away and just overlock as you're doing the fronts. And then just like overlock the hem and turn it up all as one piece. But yeah, I don't think that's wise. So just note that if you are going to be making the Eve dress ever. So what I'm going to do is leave the video here actually. I'm going to give it a couple of days, as I say, then I'm going to level and hem the dress. And I will put in some photos or some video footage of me wearing it so that you can see the final result of the dress. I'm thrilled with how this went actually, and I'm so pleased with how that bodice alteration went, because as I say, it wasn't the most professional or professionally drafted thing or whatever. It was just something that I decided to try. So I'm really pleased that it worked out. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd love you to consider subscribing. I do quite a lot of these kind of hack the high street type videos. I really enjoy them. They're probably one of my most favourite videos to make, and I think you do enjoy them too. Let me know in the comments if you like how my dress has turned out, and let me know if you've done any interesting hacks lately as well. I'd love to know. Take care, everyone. Have a lovely day, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.